So, hello, my name is Crystal. I'm an intuitive reader, and I'm usually on here doing lives, doing personal tarot and oracle readings. But I'm going to try something a little different. So, in this video, I'm going to pick a theme of something that keeps coming up that I want to kind of share with you guys. And it's interesting, I took a couple of notes to make sure I actually stay on topic. But the interesting thing about this was, especially a lot of the different readings that I've been doing and just personal digging around, so to speak, with the energy, a lot of the themes that keep coming up that people seem to be struggling with or wrestling with or just trying to find the right way with is either has something to do with the throat chakra, which is usually about being able to talk to people, feeling comfortable enough, standing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself, being able to express yourself. It either can be through art or it could be something where you're just speaking to people. And it's interesting that the other side of that coin has to do with like a money block or something about finances. And it's interesting how in the two of those, I've noticed we have people who want to manifest to step into something bigger, either whatever they do, express themselves more creativity wise or doing something career wise. And even me personally, I've noticed I've gone through a big thing of struggling between the both. And it was interesting, for a long time I always thought they were separate. But it's interesting today, I was part of a group biofield tuning session by an amazing practitioner that's a good friend of mine. And one of the things that came together that came up in the session was how it had to do with the throat chakra and how it was actually integrated. And it was really fascinating. So I want to share a little of the stuff that I kind of took notes on. And we're going to talk about that because understanding that our throat chakra, which is, how we speak, are we able to feel comfortable enough to even step out and say things like hello to someone you don't know, or to say yes please, I would like that, or maybe even wanting to write a book for a very long time. And I can totally quote for that one. I've had a book that's been writing me for over 15 years, and finally just about 2.5 months ago, a little over 2 months ago, I took that from let's do this to now I am in the final edits, and that's going to be released in the next week or two. So, and on top of another one that popped up. So it's interesting. Let's talk about how those are related. So if you're finding that you have kind of like two different things that are going on in your life. You have the fact that you want to be seen more. Maybe you're in a job you're not happy with and there's something you really want to be doing. Maybe there's a business that you've wanted to start, something you want to step out in, or even write a book. There's a lot of people I know who've been wanting to be able to do that. They just don't even know where to start. And a lot of times we also have that other struggle going on because now finding out that they tie in together about the money block. And it's, for lack of better terms, it's about financial or abundance flow, because it's not just about monetary. It's about, opportunities, different things. It are having opportunities that come in that could be maybe a new job. Yes, that will be a financial thing, but many times it's also if you're in a position where you actually feel like your gifts are actually being fully used, or you feel you're being fully appreciated for that, or you're finally showing up in something you've been wanting to do, but maybe you didn't have the you just didn't have the bravery to do it. It's interesting how both of those are actually very tied together. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the points of this real quick. Hold on. It's so funny because I'm like, oh my God, I should probably take notes on this. And here I am trying to make a video about it. But I wanted to talk about, like I said, the most important thing was about the money flow thing. And of course, I probably should have had my notes in front of me, but we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second as soon as I get this here. But I'm really excited about this because the main point of this being is about the money thing. And it's interesting that a lot of us are kind of stuck in that point right now that we're like, okay, we want to change. We want something to change. And with the way the energy has been going across the collective, it has just been building up. Like January through March, January through April, actually, we're all about what are you settling for? There was a lot of shakeup. So there was a lot of things from January to literally about April. There's a big shakeup. There may have been maybe the job you're not really happy at got really toxic. Things like that. And what does it do? It shook a lot of us up to either try to make a change or we get so uncomfortable we had to make a change. And it's interesting because I had that same thing happen for me even personally. It was in March where I was in a very toxic work situation outside of what I do here because I was in a transition. I didn't have this fully set back up again. I was still just stepping back into my gifts as a full-time thing, as a full-time business, and I wasn't ready to totally take the leap. But in March, it was interesting. It got to the point where I found I was literally like in the middle of the day, not taking a 10-minute breather break. I was literally taking a 10-minute like cry break. And I said, what is going on? And I was so upset because I was so stressed that I felt guilty about taking a moment to go and take a 10-minute break, which I should have been able to do anyway. But that wasn't somebody that was, well, it was a whole thing, but it wasn't just about what was going on the outside. It was what was going on the inside. I had gotten to the point where I had given up my ability to step in and say, no, I have to look at this better. I got so caught up kind of in that hamster wheel of believing I had to stay there. It wasn't safe enough. I don't know. It hasn't been long enough. I'm doing my business full time and this. I don't know if I'm ready. And it came at the point when I realized is I was literally, instead of taking a 10-minute break, I was taking a 10-minute cry break. And I was in tears and I said, what is going on? And I said, you know what? I have been saying I have to wait to a certain date, and when I looked back and took the time and realized I really had already hit the margin that I really thought at least the minimum was, and I realized in that moment my own peace and happiness was so much more important than being a little stressed if things might be a little tight financially to take off. Now that was in March. In March, I was struggling because I didn't think I was going to be able to make it until May to be able to do this full time and not do something on the outside. And I was able to do that. And when I stepped into it, yes, the first week or two, I will tell you flat out, I was scared, I was upset, I was anxious, I felt guilty. There was 1,000 different things going through my mind, but I realized as that started to unfold, the more time I took away from something that was draining me, the more time I had to put into my business and do what I do. And I ended up having more than enough appointments and things like that and doing all kinds of things with my business that it more than replaced my income. So by the time May actually hit, not only was I already where I was hoping to be, even though I was able to step into that in March, by the time I hit May, I had been able to do all the things I want to do. I had the security that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. The only way that came through it was I needed to choose me. And sometimes that's what happened. But I know this is, trust me, this is all on subject. But look at it this way. When you realize that our throat chakra, which is speaking up for ourselves, standing up for us, speaking our truth, but also stepping into whatever our gifts are, whatever it may be. Maybe it's writing a book. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe you want to be a coach, doing something like a life coach or something. There is something that lights you up that has been calling you for it. When we don't step into that, when we sit back and let that fear hold us in our throat chakra, not only is it holding back us on a spirit level and what we're able to move through in our life, but it's also where a lot of these blocks are that we don't realize. And the abundance block can truly sit right in the throat chakra. And it's very interesting that yes, as scared as I was, and I will tell you too, because they said, well, you were just fearless. Well, let me dispel one quick myth before we finish this. So courage is not the absence of fear. It is actually just being able to look fear in the face and say, you know what, thanks for the warning, but I got shit to do. And you move past it. So courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being able to pick that up and still move through it. Scared or not, I was very scared. I was still kind of like, what's going on? But I had to learn to trust. And my biggest message at all in this, I'm not pulling any cards, and that's okay. What I'm pulling is truth bombs, so to speak, because when I realized that our throat chakra, us being able to step into whatever it is, how we want to be, who we're going to go, whatever, also affects our abundance. So if you're trying to manifest both, you maybe start with this one. So from my heart to you guys, I send you lots of love. I'll be on later tonight doing some live readings, but sending much love, guys. Take care.